It's another side that, like, wants to take more. It wants to go that one more round. Because, like, going that one more round when you don't think you can, that's what makes all the difference in your life. You know what I mean?
Welcome to another episode of One More Round, the Rocky Series podcast. I am your host, Ryan. With me today, of course, is the lovely Katie. How are you doing, Katie?
I'm doing well. We got our first big snow of the season last night.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I've got a big sweater on.
Yeah, I'm wearing a hoodie. Yesterday was, at the time of this recording, was my birthday, and it was 16 Celsius, which is like 70 degrees Fahrenheit for you Americans. It was very nice, and I was jogging. It was lovely, and I knew, because of the weather app, of course, that cold days were coming. The vortex was coming in, and it's come in. It's here. So we're down to, colder, much colder now. But I love wearing my hoodie weather. I love hoodie weather. Kyle we think he's coming. He might be running late. We're just started without him if he pops in because we got a lot to cover. So we're going to start with emails first, Kate. Why don't we just do that first while we're waiting for Kyle? So,
okay, we have one from Craig Davis. Hi, Ryan, Kyle, and Katie. First and foremost, I'd like to express my appreciation for the fantastic job you all do. The chemistry among the three of you is truly remarkable, and you make my long car journey to work enjoyable. That's very nice. I've been contemplating how the Rocky universe might have unfolded without Clubber Lang. In this scenario, Rocky might have retired, potentially safeguarding his finances, as he wouldn't have ventured to Russia, leaving Paulie in charge. Right. This decision would have spared Rocky from further brain damage inflicted by Drago. Mickey might have lived a few more years with reduced stress on his heart, as there would be no pressure to train for a fight he didn't want and no incident with Clubber. We wouldn't have had to endure Frank Stallone singing during the initial Clubber fight training camp in the hotel. I also adore It's a Long Road podcast with Ryan and Dom. You folks always crack me up. I would like to point out that I love it as well. It's part of my morning routine when we record because the episode comes out. And so it's just the best way to start my Sunday morning. It's great.
It's coming near an end. It's nearing the end though. We're halfway through Rambo 5. It's the last season of the Long Road podcast. So if you're listening to this Rocky podcast, and you don't know that I do a Rambo podcast, it's done in the exact same vein. We go scene by scene throughout the films. We're halfway through season 5. The last season of the Rambo series, and yes, we started at the end of season 4 and we continue with season 5 where we have it's become a longer segment. I think the Frank Stallone segment that we do at the beginning of every episode, but it's not our fault, Katie. It's not our fault. Frank keeps giving us things to talk about. I can't help myself.
It's just wild. You guys got to check it out if you aren't already.
Thank you, Katie.
So Craig goes on to say, Rocky and Apollo may not have formed their friendship, and I suspect Apollo would have moved on from boxing if not for Rocky's influence, thus avoiding a confrontation with Drago. If Apollo had lived, there's the question of whether he might have had an affair. I think he would have. If not, there would be no Adonis. If yes, Adonis might have desired to follow in his father's footsteps if Apollo were still alive. This would have resulted in no Creed movies. Additionally, Rocky's relationship with Robert, Rocky Jr., might have been stronger, with a more comfortable lifestyle living in a mansion and more time to spend together. Rocky's retirement would have precluded any friction in his relationship with Tommy, as I doubt they would have ever crossed paths. I could continue, but I realize you have a show to carry on with, LOL. I'm very saddened to hear about Burt Young's passing. May he rest in peace. Keep up the excellent work, guys. Keep punching. Best regards, Craig Davis.
Great email and great insights. And Kyle's entered the chat, so we're going to say hi to Kyle. Welcome.
Hey.
Glad you're here, of course. We knew you were coming, but we had a lot of emails and stuff to go through, so I thought we'd just start.
I'm not going to forget this blatant show of disrespect.
So I also want to say, Craig actually just ended that email with the mention of Burt Young. So why don't we right now? That was one of the things we wanted to cover, of course, because the last episode came out after his passing, but like I said before, it was recorded before his passing. So now that we're all here together, why don't we start with you, Kyle? Like your thoughts, of course, on Burt Young's passing.
Obviously very sad. I feel Burt Young's passing is something that's been, I don't know, in the back of my mind for a long time now. This is coming. It just, Paul, he's never seemed super healthy.
No.
And so it's like one of those things where I'm like, I'm surprised he's still here. Nevertheless, it's still very sad that he's gone. He was, I'd say, one of the most integral characters in the films. He's one of the few that was there for all of them.
Yeah, all six. Yeah,
and he had an important role. Like he had quite a spectrum of what he performed. I still prefer the Paulie from like the first two films. He was still good in the other ones also, and I was really happy to see him in Rocky Balboa as well. Like I remember when seeing the trailer for it. So yeah, it's a big loss. And I'd say in general too, I was talking to my wife about this when we were talking about Matthew Perry, who just passed away. The one thing about getting older is you really start to notice people dying more. Like when you're a kid, you take that for granted. But then when you're getting older, like all these people that you've grown up with or grown up watching start passing away. And it makes you reflect on your own mortality a bit.
Agreed. Well said.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Katie?
I should have been maybe expecting it, but I wasn't. For some reason, I don't think of 83 as like that old anymore. Love Burt Young. I think he's legitimately like good, decent human being. He's a phenomenal actor, and he gave us one of the best characters in film history ever. So I will forever be thankful for that. I also love that he lived in New York. He wanted to be away from the spotlight. He was a private person. He just did his own thing. He had other interests. Just wonderful. I would also like to point out that his wife passed away when he was 34 years old in 1974.
Okay.
And he never remarried. And so I feel that somewhat, I'm putting things on this, but mirrors like a Rocky Adrian type relationship.
I wonder if Sly grabbed any of that real life storyline from Burt as an actor.
Maybe. Yeah. And so he only had one child, has one grandchild.
Doesn't he have a daughter or something like that, I think?
Yes, Anne Moria, which I actually am curious if anybody knows for certain what his real name is, because his wife, so it's said that his name is both Gerald DeLuise as well as Richard Moria or Moria. And I'm not certain which it is because his wife's name was Gloria DeLuise, which would point to his name being Gerald DeLuise. Okay. But his daughter's name is Anne Moria, which would point to his name being Richard Moria.
That's weird.
So yeah, it's a great loss. We have these parasocial relationships with celebrities, which is just an interesting phenomenon anyway.
Yes.
So I do feel the loss of Burt Young a lot. And when the day comes that we lose Sly, it just makes me nervous. That's coming. It'll be hopefully a while, but it's coming.
Yeah, he's 6 years Burt's junior, Sylvester himself, and I think he's probably lives a little bit more healthier of a life than Burt Young lives. To be honest with you, I know Burt struggled with alcohol. I think that was something he struggled with in real life, not just his character, Paulie, but I think there's a little bit of life and art and life there. I know that from a source. I won't say who. That's one of the reasons why I never got him on the show, was because I think his handlers knew he doesn't do interviews anymore. It's just the coherentness might not be there. Yeah, but 83 isn't old. I'm sorry, it isn't young. So if you hit your 80s, you're like, that's a full life. He had like grandkids, like you said, or he had a career in film and TV and celebrity, and he's an iconic character. So the mourning parts, I didn't know if I mourned so much as, over. It's weird. It's a kind of a
Mhm.
finalization more than anything. Speaking of Matthew Perry, who just happened just to die at the time of this recording, not even 12 hours ago or whatever, that was a little bit more closer to home in some ways because I've actually watched more footage. If you want to talk about hours, I've watched more footage of Matthew Perry on screen than I have of Bert. And he's made me laugh and all that good stuff. And he's younger too. So that one stung a little bit more because he's only 6 years older than me, where Bert's
Right.
35 years older than me or whatever it is, almost 4 decades older. So yeah, he will be missed. Obviously, of course, now regarding his Rocky, this is a Rocky franchise podcast. So Paulie is a character, iconic. He's more dramatic in the first two, cartoonish in the next two, and then he goes back to being a bit of both in Rocky Balboa. And I look forward to now as we discuss the character. We're going to be discussing him for 3 more films. It's going to be interesting now to think, oh, this character or actor is now dead, the way Burgess Meredith is dead, the way Tony Burton is dead. And these are films we grew up with, and the actors weren't young when they started. So yeah, we're going to start seeing some of these. Talia Shire.
Ugh.
I know. Yeah, can't live forever either. His mom lived close to 100, so who knows? He could be around for another 20 years. This is very possible.
That's true. Yeah, the Matthew Perry, just to your point, that's so surprising because, yeah, he's only 54. And what I meant about 83, it's nowadays we have men,
Yes.
like the Rolling Stones are touring
In their 80s.
in their 80s. We have Robert De Niro and
Yep.
Al Pacino having children in their 80s. So that
Sure.
it's just a different time to be in your 80s now.
He's about average. Like the
Yes.
life expectancy of an American male is, I think, low 80s.
That is true. Yes.
So, like,
He's at the death age. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's not surprising when you hit
Mhm.
anything. I always say anything above like 75 is youngish now, but anything close to 75, then once you hit the 80s, oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's a full life. Burt Young, of course, we'll bring him up many times throughout the show, but he'll be missed. We loved his performances. Paulie's iconic, as iconic as they come. He's the side character to Rocky's character. They're inseparable. They can't go without saying that character of Paulie. I don't know who else could have done it. It's one of those things. So he'll be missed. We love him.
we're doing our little tribute to Bert.
This is a 1.75 liter bottle of Four Roses bourbon.
So you legit have the 4 roses. That's
Yes.
amazing.
Yes. And I have I've already poured it, but a Colorado shot glass. So I'm combining the two. Yes.
Nice. I just bought a little thing of Jack Daniels. I couldn't find 4 roses.
Ooh, Jack
But-
is a bit harsh.
Well, I feel like it's what Bert would have wanted. Is 4 roses not hard? Is it?
No, it's actually pretty, and it's a bourbon. It's smooth. And
Oh,
so
okay.
listen, you guys, it's 9 a.m. here, but it's
Yes.
snowy. So this will warm me up. I'll
There you
need
go.
it.
I think it's what I don't think day drinking ever stopped Paulie, so it's not going to stop us either. It's what Paulie would have
No.
wanted.
Yeah. And I'm
It is.
lame. I'm sorry. I have just water in my flask. I know you're not supposed to drink with water. I just don't have alcohol in my home anymore. I explained this to the guys in our chat. I just don't buy alcohol. I haven't really been an alcohol drinker for some time now. And anyways, because of the diet that I'm on. But
Well, I have to commend you on that, Ryan. It's a much
Oh.
healthier way of living.
yeah, you know me, the keystone of health. No, but anyways, but that being said, I do raise my glass, and we love you, Bert. So who wants to lead the toast? Kyle, do you want to lead it?
All right, to you, Bert. May you be busted forever in the sky. I don't know.
Bert, your body's busted.
He's not sweating anything anymore.
That's
Yeah, wait.
Right.
He doesn't sweat anything. Thanks
There you go.
for glassing up my toast, Katie.
Cheers.
Cheers.
To Bert.
Oh, good stuff, guys. You guys are awesome. That was your guys' idea to do that. So thank you so much. So thank you. Awesome stuff. And rest in peace to Burt Young and his family. All the love and blessings to the family and friends to Burt. Okay. All right, Katie, the next email.
We have one from Michael, the host of the Screen Nerds podcast.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm thoroughly enjoying episode 8, and it's always a fantastic listen. It has sparked some thoughts. The sequence immediately following the fight, with its disorienting camera movements and gong sounds, seems like a visual representation of a concussion or someone getting their bell rung. While concussions weren't as well understood or extensively studied in 82 as they are today, it feels like a rather accurate portrayal of what it might have felt, looked, and sounded like for someone experiencing a concussion. That is a very good point, Michael.
I'd like to mention that Gloria made a concussion joke in the second film.
That's
Oh,
true.
right.
because they asked what do you do in commercials for, and she's like concussions, which I think is a pretty funny joke.
And Gloria had a couple little digs in there in those films, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever happened to Gloria? I would have liked to see her in some of the later films.
Well,
It's
she's in the
weird.
5th film.
That's right. She does have a brief cameo in the 5th film.
Oh yeah,
She's always willing to give Adrian another shot at the pet shop. No
I
question.
forgot about that. That's a good point, Kyle.
And like I said, I would love to interview the actress. She's still alive. She's in her 70s. And she has a YouTube channel where she reads poetry. It's the oddest thing. So she can be found.
You got to get her on, Ryan.
I know. I should try. I said, look, Burt Young's dying. Come on. You got to get
Before everybody's gone.
That's right.
Michael goes on to say, one could also argue that as soon as Rocky entered the locker room, he should have told Mickey, you need to go to the hospital now. However, given that Rocky himself was in an altered state, having his bell rung during the fight, he likely wasn't thinking straight either. And I think, Ryan, you probably pointed that out last when we talked about it.
Yeah.
Additionally, the only scenario in which the medical staff and paramedics wouldn't have performed CPR on Mickey is if he had a do not resuscitate order. Once again, I'm uncertain about how prevalent such orders were in 82 or whether Mickey would have had such a document readily available. But if that were the case, the medical staff would have been there solely to record the time of death. Keep up the excellent work. Best regards, Michael. And you pointed that out as well, I think. But that's very good points, Michael.
Yes, Michael. Thank you so much.
Next, we have an email from Dan O'Neill. Mick once said, fighting is like 90% in the head and 10% in the body.
Okay, before you go on, we should also say thank you, Michael, for that. And also check out his podcast, Screen Nerds Podcast. And again, the only reason why I'm not bouncing anything more off that email, and the first one for that matter, there's just sometimes things are just said. They said everything.
Well said.
Yeah, it's well said. We don't need to not quote unquote waste time, but we don't. Yeah, it was well said. But this next one, I will say this before you read, of course, because I pre-read these. I will say this email, and in conjunction with what Kyle has said and other people have said regarding what's going to be brought up here, boy, it's starting to sway me a little bit. I'll give him that much credit. There's a lot.
Oh, we're still talking about this.
So go ahead and read that. And
I haven't read it yet, so I'm curious.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
You don't pre-read these? Oh, that's weird.
Well, you give them to me like 5 minutes before we record. So no, I don't.
That's
I
fair.
don't.
I got to do better about that. I apologize.
No, it's okay.
Katie.
It's
Yeah,
fine.
Sorry. All right.
I can't read anyways.
That's right. Just read the dummy cards, Katie.
Yeah. Hi, guys. I'm thoroughly enjoying the revisitation of Rocky 3, and in particular, your recent thought-provoking discussion in episode 6 about who would have won between Rocky and Clubber if Rocky had trained correctly and Mickey was in the corner and healthy. I've wrestled with this question myself over the years, but believe I've finally reached a conclusion. None of us ever want to bet against Rocky in a boxing match or any fight. I do believe that he would likely lose this fight. This is primarily because it's evident that he has become mentally soft after 3 years of perceived easy dominance and his newfound fondness for a lavish lifestyle. After his 10 title defenses, which were handpicked, and Rocky's inclination to appear in numerous TV commercials and fundraisers rather than engage in proper fights and rigorous training, I think his mental state would be his downfall. You can't simply turn it off and on. Going into this fight, I believe Rocky would think he's unbeatable and only needed to show up to defeat his opponent. Given Mick supposedly said fighting is 90% in the head, a callback in Rocky 5, in my opinion, Rocky would still lose the first fight with Clubber, albeit with a better performance and lasting longer. I believe he would have underestimated Clubber, despite Mick's efforts to instill in him the warning that Clubber would deposit you up there on Mars. Rocky would have taken his training less seriously, even if they had continued living in the old gym. I can't imagine his desire and devotion for the fight would be the same as it was in Rocky 2, despite the jabs he made to Adrian at the statue. After all, the worst had happened to Rocky. He had become civilized. Rocky would have continued to live a modern lifestyle before the fight, as Apollo later references in the film, which is in stark contrast to how Clubber was living and training. In conclusion, great discussion, guys, but if fighting is 90% in the head, Rocky would lose the first fight, even if he trained well and Mickey was healthy. Keep up the great conversation. Best regards, Dan.
So the thing about this email that really pushed me, now I'm not so sure about my thoughts previous, and he's right about the beginning where none of us want to bet against Rocky. That's true. There's probably part of that fandom or rooting for Rocky that's in my heart, not my head, so to speak. And Kyle, we know Kyle has no heart; he's all head, and that's why he logically came to the conclusion that Rocky would lose. Now, so the part of this email that was like, I never considered that, and this is in the Rocky universe, so you have to weigh that into this discussion, where Mickey himself said to Rocky, and he's a trainer. He's been doing this for 7 decades of training. That boxing is 90% in the head. And now we did talk about that with Rocky's heart wasn't into it, all that good stuff. That's why he lost so badly. Is because you're right. So that argument with Mickey and what Kyle's saying is true. His head wasn't in it, heart wasn't in it. 90% of it is your head. That's why he only lasted like half a first round. Take that away, Mickey's there, and still, if it's just still 90% in the head, all the arguments that Kyle and what Dan and the others have said here still hold true. He's civilized. The fights are handpicked. He's cultured. He's doing commercials. He's not hungry. He doesn't have the eye of the tiger. He's not angry. It would have been a longer fight. It would have been but Clubber just might have had more of the head game.
Are you saying that you've changed your opinion, Ryan?
I'm saying that still with the idea of all things being equal, Mickey's in the corner, 90% head game. You could then at that point it's an unknown is where I'm going, because you could argue Rocky maybe during that 15 round match gets his head screwed on right, figures it out, gets into the head game, breaks out of the he digs in deep and gets out of the civilized and the handpicked notions, all that stuff. He breaks out of it still. And in the realm of the Rocky universe, he's done the impossible. So at the very least, I get all the arguments. I can see where a loss would happen more now, but I'm still going to geek out a little bit and just say the good guy wins. Rocky still wins if you want to put a gun in my head.
I think so. My counter to some of it is, one, the 90% in the head. I use that as the argument for why he lost, because Mickey wasn't there. But to the point about him being civilized, I hear that. My argument to that is, just because he's civilized doesn't mean he can't be good. AKA, what's his face?
Apollo was civilized.
Mayweather. Totally rich, lives this lavish lifestyle, but he's never lost. He's a shitbag of a human being, but he's an amazing boxer. So that kind of counters that. And the other thing I'll just point out is that what we're shown in the fight is that Rocky, he does have the physical fighting ability, but we're shown that he completely gives up. He gives up, not because he's not trained, not because it's because Mickey's not there. He just is not, his heart's not in it anymore. So they're all really good points, and we will forever never know. But I think that it could have been a really good fight and that Rocky would still squeak out the win if Mickey was there.
Okay. And any final thoughts there, Kyle, before we move on to our trivia?
No, I think we've all got our points out. I do want to. Can I do my quick shout out?
Yeah, of course, to whoever or whatever.
So we had a very, if you watch boxing, a very Rocky-like match last night in the real world.
Oh.
Heavyweight champion Tyson Fury fought a man that had never been in a pro boxing match before.
I never heard about this till you messaged us in the group. I'm out of the loop. So what was the...
So Fury is 33-0-1. So he has 33 wins and 1 draw. He has most of the world championships right now. There's another guy, Ukrainian guy, Alexander Usyk, who has the other ones. They're going to fight soon, but Fury is widely regarded as he's the lineal heavyweight champion.
What does that mean?
That's like the lineage, like you get it from beating the last guy who had. There's the original heavyweight champion back in the day, and that title gets passed on. You have to defeat the last champion to get the championship. Like the belt they show in Rocky, that's the lineal belt.
Okay.
Ring Magazine has their lineal title, and that's the lineal championship. And then there's like the WBC and all the other ones too. But Tyson Fury's he's the white guy there. He is a really good boxer. This other gentleman, Francis Ngannou, he's never fought ever in a boxing match. He was in the UFC, so he does have fighting experience. He knocked down Tyson Fury in the 3rd round, as we can see there. So very Rocky-esque kind of knockdown. Tyson Fury won by a controversial split decision victory.
Really?
So it was 95-94 Ngannou, 96-93 Fury, and 95-94 Fury. So it's a real tight split decision.
Wow.
Yeah, so it
This
was amazing.
Ngannou guy he's a big boy.
Oh no, Tyson Fury is enormous, but also I don't think I've heard the name, but he is super out of shape looking.
Oh, that's his trademark. That's his trademark. That like he's fat.
Yeah. So I'm like, no wonder look at all that jiggle. I don't want to see that when I'm watching some boxing.
He beats the shit out of everybody, even though he's fat like that.
Because he's
Like-
very tall, right? He looks really tall.
He's more athletic than he looks.
Okay.
He is extremely skilled fighter,
Oh, okay.
and he's beat Klitschko. He beat Deontay Wilder, who's like in incredibly good shape. If you've never seen him before, I could understand that reaction, but he beats
Okay.
up like muscly looking guys like this guy all the time.
Interesting. Okay.
And everyone thought that Fury would just roll this guy easy because this guy's never been in a boxing match before.
He's in shape, actually. So-
So yeah, he has the advantage of being in shape, but like Kyle said, that's not been an issue.
Yeah, Tyson Fury beats the shit out of in shape people all the time.
Is it because he could take punches, or
He moves well. Despite being fat, he can move around the ring. He doesn't get tired. He's really athletic. Like it goes against intuition.
Mhm.
But yeah, he looks about the same shape as he was in other fights. Like you see him dancing around the ring there, he'll do that the whole time.
But this Ngannou guy has never boxed before, like never had a
Never.
professional. Wow.
Yeah, he's fought in the octagon in UFC, but that's
Uh-huh.
a totally different sport. Like it's not boxing. There's a similar Conor McGregor fought Mayweather. Same situation, but Mayweather carried him for a few rounds and then just smacked him around for another 7.
P.S. Look at the Iron Sheik.
yeah, who's that guy holding
He
the
looks
belt there?
literally like the wrestler. The
Where's this
Iron
being
Sheik.
held?
I think
what's-
Iron Sheik's dead.
Where's
He
this-
recently died. I
Oh,
think.
this is in Saudi Arabia.
That's why.
Yeah.
So they're funding it. I bet they're funding the fight.
Decision on the third card. Winner by split decision. Still undefeated from the United Kingdom. The WBC Heavyweight World Champion.
So is there some controversy with that call, or do you think, or
A little bit. Like people are saying Ngannou was the one who really won the fight. Because when it's that close, it's basically
like to your
one
point about
round
this.
difference. Sorry, go ahead.
To your point about this mirroring, that's very similar to because Apollo is getting hate mail. Like you didn't really win this fight. So your point about this mirroring a Rocky fight is warranted.
Yeah, it was really like reminiscent of that. So I watched the fight illegally last night.
how dare you?
After the fight was over, I didn't watch it live. So, but
What do you think of Louise's comments there regarding Fury?
he knows how to use his size to bully people. Yes. So one thing Fury does to people, because Fury's 6'9".
Oh.
Whoa.
Yeah, like he's a real big boy. And Ngannou is not 6'9". I think he's maybe 6'7" or something like that. He's at least you saw him. He's slightly
Yeah.
shorter, but it's not like they're hugely different. But what Fury will do to smaller guys who are only 6'5", is he'll put his whole body weight on them in a clinch and lean over. And so this guy's basically having to hold him up in a clinch, and that takes energy
Mm.
that uses up your muscles. Tyson Fury is named after Mike Tyson. That's why his name's Tyson. He's a gypsy. That's why they call him the Gypsy King.
Oh, I didn't know that. Like
in
a
the
ramen
UK, they're
ramen
also
or
called
ramen?
pikeys.
Yeah, I saw that for the movie Snatch with Brad Pitt.
Yeah. Although Tyson Fury says Snatch doesn't really accurately portray pikey lifestyle, but
What, a movie
yeah.
doesn't portray something accurately? That's weird.
I know it's crazy. But he comes from a boxing family.
Do you know
like
how much
he's
he
a-
weighs? 6'9" and kind
I
of.
bet he's over. Like I bet he's like 300 pounds or something. He's coming in at 277
okay.
pounds. He had the championship earlier when he beat Klitschko, and he basically spun into a major depression afterwards and got majorly addicted to alcohol. And I think he ballooned up to 400 pounds
Oh my God.
and was like stripped of his title. And he made a comeback where he lost a bunch of weight and he fought for the championship again and got it. A very interesting story. And he talks a lot about mental health, and he's also super religious too. But yeah, like interesting fellow. I don't necessarily agree with all his opinions on stuff, but it was a great matchup, and it was really reminiscent of the first Rocky fight.
Cool. Awesome. That's very good. Thank you for bringing that up. So thank you. All right. So now we are going to do our trivia. 5 questions. I'll tell you right now, the first question, I'll be surprised if any one of us gets, but the ones after that we should all get.
God. Okay.
Okay. Ready? Question 36. Who does Rocky fight at the venue Radio City Music Hall?
Oh, I think I know this one.
I do have a name, but I don't know if it's the right one. Maybe there's a montage of names throughout
Never mind. I'm not going to give any hints because I
don't know hints. Katie's killing us. Katie's killing us because I think we're going to get the rest of them pretty easily. Okay, number 37.
It was Bob Smith, Katie.
It's Bob Smith.
Okay.
True or false? The Italian Stallion logo is on Rocky's motorcycle. We also see his motorcycle in the 5th Rocky film.
P.S. I want that motorcycle.
Well, you should have been there at the auction.
Yeah, I know. I was like 4.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
38. What does Rocky throw at his statue? A tomato. Who says, "You got me curious"? This is a trick one if you want to think about it.
It is.
But that means we probably all know the answer. So we'll accept singular or whatever. But yeah, who says it first? You got me curious. Okay, and then question 40. I love this. I wish they were all this easy. Who says I pity the fool? All right. Okay, so I think it's the first one that's going to get us a little bit. We'll find out later.
Okay.
All right, and here we go, folks.
The Imaru.
The funeral.
Use Shalom.
This is where the audience everywhere around the world finds out for the first time that Mickey's Jewish. Was there any indications throughout the films that Mickey was Jewish before this moment?
His last name.
Yeah, Goldmill.
Especially as a kid and a teenager, I never got Jewish last names. It never dawned on me. So even now, I keep forgetting that's a clue or hint.
But if you live in the East Coast, I think that is a pretty good indication.
So are you saying then you knew that he was Jewish before the funeral?
I was a small child watching this. And I lived in the Midwest where there's not very many Jewish people. So I probably didn't, but I do think people that live where there's a larger population of Jewish people would. I mean, as an adult, I'm like, oh, duh.
Does it say his name earlier? Does it say Gold?
When did we see Goldmill? That's the other. There's a trivia question. When did we get Goldmill's name before the 3rd film? And
if we did.
And then the other question I then have is those who saw the films in their late teen adult type years for the first time said to themselves, that man is Jewish. And then when the funeral happens, they go, aha, I knew it.
You're right. I just know his last names, but I'm trying to recall when we learn his last name for the first time. But
exactly. So there's a good trivia question. When and where do we get Mickey's last name before the funeral?
I think this is the first time. That's what
I'm thinking too.
I don't know. I feel like we do learn it earlier.
Okay, well that's the challenge then.
Yeah,
we'll get that for our emails. Send us an email, folks. Let us know that not that we're right or wrong. I actually just don't even remember. I think we're retconning our history that we know his last name, but we never hear Rocky say it. We don't see any documents. We don't see any. The press never says, "Oh, Mickey Goldmill is training you again, Rocky." How do you feel about that? I don't recall any kind of anyone saying his first last name together. So, good questions for our audience. This concludes our services. I just love even after this, he's got the raccoon Rocky eyes. He's wearing the sunglasses. But I always appreciate that Rocky thanks the service guy. Thanks. Very quiet thanks there, but he thanks him for his service. And there's everyone attending the funeral. That was one of the trivia questions. The cut man's there. I forgot the cut man was there.
I got that question wrong. I didn't even think that Polly was there.
I'm very surprised that there's only that many people there because
What-
I understand that Mickey didn't have kids and probably like he's so old that all the like my grandma, for example,
Mm-hmm.
all of her like brothers and sisters and everyone in her family is gone now because she's 96, right? So like Mickey, he's really old, so I can see in that sense that maybe a lot of his family isn't there. So yes, if he doesn't have kids, but this guy was in the community for a long time. You would think he made a lot of connections with trainers and people like that at the gym over the years, and I think more people would have been in his funeral.
Maybe it's a budget thing, get more people.
I'm sure.
But really, they should have a huge budget. Yeah, great questions. Why isn't there more people there? But maybe there's a storyline there that just Mickey had nobody but Rocky.
Adrian's outfit's wonderful. She looks really nice. She's got a hat. She's got a great funeral outfit. And we're about to see it's not a headstone. It's like his,
Plaque or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
plaque.
this is really important. So you guys might be right. It's possible this is the first time we see his last name, but it's also really important because we see his birth and death year, which
Right.
comes up in our timeline.
When you see stuff like this in the film, a death of a character stating the year, you have to say this is the year. It's like the hardest evidence you can almost have is someone's
to be
birth
written.
date or death date.
The hierarchy of dates you take seriously in a film, the highest standard is they put it on the screen explicitly. For example, the beginning of Rocky 1, where it's November, whatever, 1975. You have to accept that
Yeah.
because they're telling you that. And then right under that is this here, where it gives you a date. This is honestly probably equal to what I just mentioned.
If this is the date,
He's 76 now.
so Rocky, when he fought Apollo, what year was that fight?
Well, it would have been 1976, actually, because he fought in January 1 for the first fight, and then in November, they fought again. And you can't really dispute that. But we know that in the vortex of time, there's really a 3-year gap.
At the very least, he should be 79 because in the first movie,
Yes.
he says he's 76. But even though 6 years has passed or 5 or 6 years, in the movie's timeline, it's 3 years has passed. So he should not be 76 here.
Yeah, it should be like 1902 or 1903 is
Yeah.
his birthday, because
Yeah.
like his implied birth date in the first film is 1900 because he's
Mhm.
76. You could see 1899 because it was technically 1975 when he said that.
It's true.
But like we talked about, as time goes on in the film, you can't just pretend like it's in the past still all the time, or else I think that's just unnecessary. So that you got to bump it up a little bit.
But this is a very obvious error from the movie because they are playing with time. But why did they make his birth year 1905 here? There's a very clear opportunity to make it 1902.
I don't know. Sly, I love Sly. He wrote this script. He directed this film. He wrote the first film. He wrote that Mickey says, "I'm 76 years old." I don't know why. I don't know why there's not anyone who says, "Hey, Sly, just remember Mickey said he was 76 in the first film.
Yeah.
You remember you wrote that, and now you're editing this film, and you're editing this shot. You see this in the editing room. You're the director. Why didn't somebody say, hey, how can he be 76 in Rocky 3 and 1?
We've talked about that before. I fear that people didn't want to correct him. I hope that's not the case, that he was
I
the
don't-
type of person that would,
Well,
like,
if someone to say, "Hey, Sly, 76 in both films. What do you think we should do?" I don't know why that would send him off the
Yeah.
rails.
Well, you know
There's
what I mean?
probably
Some
just
people
a
like a yes
culture where it's not detail oriented.
maybe.
You know what I mean? I just think they don't care.
And,
It
okay,
doesn't
and I
matter.
hear that. I know we're doing a podcast. And I know this was the 80s, and I know they never would have suspected people would. There was probably somebody in the theater who was a nerd enough to say,
Yeah.
"Hey, I know these Rocky films. I have them on VHS." And so I can't imagine the millions of people that saw this film, not one person picked up the flub. It's called a film flub for a reason. They exist for a reason. I'm just surprised about how much we have inconsistencies in the timeline. I don't know why it's so hard to timeline certain things like ages. It's odd. It's not like we're asking you to. It's not War and Peace. I understand that. It's just, I don't know. This is a glaring one because they try to be accurate with Paulie's. I think his death was, or Adrian's death made sense. Their ages made sense.
I think
don't know.
whoever's the intern on set decides that. They're like, hey, we need you to make a plaque. We need you to go to this place and order one.
But they had to be given some sort of date, but they wouldn't just arbitrarily come up with a date because they're it makes sense, but it's not quite right. That's what I mean. Like they were guessing his age almost. I don't know. Anyways, interesting. Yeah. Does somebody want to Google maybe Louise because he's not recording? Louise, Google Burgess Meredith's actual, if you don't mind, his actual birth year. I would be curious. Okay.
I think it's 1912 or something.
I think it's pretty close to around this. Yeah.
Yeah, they make him older than he really is.
Again, Burgess Meredith was the same age.
69. He was 69 in 76,
That's right.
I believe.
That's right. Because that's the same age that Sly was with the first Creed film. So they were both the same age.
Mm-hmm.
And
So it'd be 1915 is my math.
I can't do math in my head. So yeah, sure.
And Louise, also just want to say in regards to what you're saying about Adrian and how she's looking. This is what Louise had to say about. He said that Adrian's firing no cylinders in Rocky 3. I agree. I think she's peak hot in Rocky 3. If I want to be honest, as a man, I'm being honest. I think.
He's born in 1907.
Oh wow!
So I fucked that up big time.
Oh, what was I thinking about the 69 then? Okay.
He died in 1997.
Oh, I think what we figured out is that he actually would have been Mickey's character instead of 76. We figured out that based on the later dates, he would have actually been 69 or something. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? So again, we have Rocky doing his famous, I don't know, it's almost like he's visiting the sites. This is where he ran, I think, the training montage in the first Rocky film. This is the same train yard area.
I love doing shit like this. This is my personality. I like going back to places I used to go and kind of thinking and reflecting about stuff. So I really relate to what he's kind of doing right now.
I like Paulie in the sixth Rocky film. I can't do any more of this watching stuff. What do you say?
Yeah, again.
How I feel. Also, we should also know that Mickey's body was, I guess, turned to ashes. Is that what it was?
I don't know, man. I think like they're in that thing there, like they're just embalmed or whatever.
Oh, okay. So I love how Rocky goes to the bridge they trained under in the first Rocky film. They ran under. I think it's that same area at the very least. Then we see him cut back. He went back to Mickey's funeral home just to check it out again.
Yeah, that was odd. I don't recall that before. But yeah, it's a good Philly shot.
He said, remember when I was at your funeral 5 hours ago? I'm back now. It's just odd that he goes back again. Like he was just there. And now he drives up with his motorcycle, which is, I love how no one's here. There's not one person here. I guess it could be 3 a.m, but he's brought his motorcycle to the top of the Rocky stairs. I don't know what's the logistics. I don't know what the
Yeah, you know, because I caught a cab to this place when I was in Philly, and the cab driver drove me to like behind the steps, and there's like this pathway that goes up. So I actually
can a motorcycle do it?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. Like I actually went to the top before I ran up the steps even.
Okay. That does make sense.
So yeah, no, he's good here. Like it makes sense.
All right, good. I don't think he's allowed to, but he did it.
Imagine if there was security there though. He'd be like, hey, I'm Rocky Balboa. My statue's up here. They'd let him go. They could do whatever he wants.
I'm going to play the musical flourish because there's something about it that it crescendos or has that flourish right after he hits the statue with his helmet. And it should be noted that we interviewed the daughter of the statue maker. I never know why we never got, I forget his name, Joel Schoenberg. I forget his first name, but we had a lovely woman. She was wonderful. Her interview with me and my brother was wonderful. She gave a lot of insight. Again, one of the insight was she was 14 years old. Katie, you would have loved this. She was about 14 years old when Sly came to her father's house to pose for this sculpture. And he'd be there just in his boxers every day, holding up his arms for the box. Yeah. She went to school saying, yes, Sylvester Stallone's in my house naked.
God. Can you imagine that? And because it's not even in LA, they were in Colorado. So you don't see a famous celebrity every day here.
Can you imagine, Katie? You're that 14-year-old girl?
No. I was 14. I would have been all over that. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
So you'd be finding like excuses to go in there all the time. Mm-hmm. Oh, you guys need something to drink? Or I just came in here to get this. Or
so she gave some great stories. Robin was her name. I don't begrudge at all talking to her because it's funny. I've seen the father give interviews since our interview to other people.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. So it broke my heart a little bit. Oh, why would he want to
I thought he had passed away.
No, he's still alive. He's still alive. Not well, I don't know, but he's still alive. Like recent, like last year or two. I just happened to stumble on. I'm like, oh, okay. The statue creator talking to other ham and eggers, but not me and my brother. Anyways, Robin, if you're listening, can you let us?
Do you want me to send him some hate mail?
Yes, yeah, that's right. His statue's a fake. No. So But
Doesn't
of
even
note
look
here,
like him.
yeah, of note here, of course, it's a real statue, real cast iron, and or whatever the material. I think it's cast iron. So when Sly hits the statue with the helmet, that's the real statue. It's not just a prop; it's the actual statue. And Robin said, yes, to this day, the mark of the helmet hitting the arm is still there.
So
I
it's a
wonder how
one-take
many
deal?
takes
Yeah.
that took,
Mhm.
though.
I think it was a
'cause imagine
one-shot
if you
deal.
missed the statue or something, or if it hit it awkwardly or whatever.
Yeah, it might have been a couple times it didn't look quite good, but the one that stuck on the film, the mark on the arm is still there from Robin.
Interesting.
And she has no reason to lie. She wasn't
Right.
that type of person. She told that to me and my brother at school. So here we go. And I love the flourish of the soundtrack after the hit. It's a contemplative moment right now. We as an audience for the first time, we're just thinking, oh, Rocky's thinking about himself as a boxer and the statue. But we're realizing now, especially with his face, he's pissed off at the whole idea. He feels like he's a phony. His whole life is like the statue is now mocking him in a sense. It's mocking his whole existence as a boxer and as a human.
Wait a minute. What's that on his bike?
Yeah, I was
Is
just
that
going
a
to
logo?
comment to that too.
Oh,
logo on
okay.
there?
We got a couple
Trivia.
things for the trivia. We got yes, there is the Italian stallion. Yeah, the logo is on the motorcycle, and we're about to see what he throws at the statue.
Mhm.
So we got two things on this one, and it's not a tomato. I just love that sound of the change of the flourish. It's very fitting. It's the Rocky theme. It's still the Rocky theme. It's like the depressing Rocky. It's slowed down and inverted on itself. I think it's very well done by Mr. Bill Conti. Very subtle. Yeah. So he throws the helmet, and I love how he just awkwardly backs up the bike. That always kills me. Oh, gotta reverse this motorcycle.
Do you think he goes to fetch the helmet or he just leaves
Nah,
it?
Oh,
he's-
he leaves that
it.
helmet.
He's a litter bug.
I'll leave it down there. Did it keep good protection anyways? Yeah,
I think
whatever.
helmets are like $300. They're not cheap.
They're not
No-
cheap.
No thing to Rocky.
Yeah, he can probably afford it. So Rocky continues his death tour of Mickey. Now he's going to Mickey's gym, parks his bike outside, and he's inside of Mickey's gym, sauntering around, being somber. Nature's smarter than people think. Oh, wait, it's a different scene. Sorry, I'm thinking of something else. It's Rocky 5. It's my joke. Rocky 5. When he goes to the same gym,
Slip
yeah.
the jab.
slip the jab. That's right. Slip the jab. Rocky's about to punch the bag out of anger and frustration inside the gym.
That's not the way to do it. Who's that?
I just love this whole sequence because it's great on film. It's fantastic if you're an audience member, of course, seeing this for the first time, whether at home or in the theater.
Imagine
think-
how weird that would be, though.
Yeah,
Like you're in this shitty neighborhood. You're in this like building with the lights off. You think you're alone,
yeah.
and then someone's that's not how you do it. Like, holy shit!
You're right about
That'd probably
that.
be the more accurate response. Who the fuck is that?
yeah.
But this shot's we've seen it 1,000
Yeah.
times, but for first time viewers, you hear the voice, but we just see
The silhouette.
yes, of an overcoated, dressed up man.
And I've always wished or hoped that Mickey would come out as a ghost with his bat. Hey, who's that? Because-
You fought like a bum.
Now, I do have a question. At this time,
Mhm.
is this still a working gym or is it already abandoned?
No, Mickey just kept really bad upkeep of his gym. I think it's 3 a.m. There's a lot of questions here because we're going to get some dialogue here from
Okay.
the timeline. I think this is the same day of the funeral. If you want to go, they went to the funeral, they closed up shop. Rocky probably said to Adrian at home, hey, I'm going to go for a ride on my bike and clear my head because it was daylight when this whole thing started. So it could have
Yeah.
been like near supper time. Funeral was at 1. Funeral ends at 4. 6 o'clock.
I
he's
gotta say,
driving
that, like,
around.
Rocky did up big time, not keeping that gym going, right? Because like by the time Rocky 5 rolls around, that gym is long abandoned.
Right.
I'm not saying Rocky, you have to be there running it, but you could pay someone to run that gym.
Mhm.
You could get a manager. You could find someone to take care of it. You could pay them. Have
Does
that
in
gym
Creed.
going.
What's
Well, yeah.
Face in Creed?
Yeah, exactly. That's one way he insulted the old neighborhood.
Mhm.
Is he just abandoned this gym, this like kind of pillar of the community, and yeah, not cool, bro. Not cool.
This might guess what the timeline is. That okay? So it's probably between, let's just say between 1 and 4 in the morning here. And now Apollo's come here. We're going to hear this conversation.
You think it's that late? Don't you think it's like 8 p.m.?
Yeah, I thought it was more like, say, 10, 11.
Because Apollo goes to the house. You don't go to someone's house at 1 in the morning. It's 10.
Fine. It's 9 o'clock at night. You guys happy? It's 9
yes,
at night.
Yes.
You're happy?
Yes, Ryan. Yes.
Okay. Fine. It's 9 at night.
Apollo
Closing
keeps a
hour.
sensible bedtime.
All right.
Okay.
But you hit it straight. Step into it.
The reveal that it's Apollo.
Apollo?
I waited at your house for about an hour, and your wife said you might be here.
Oh, wait. It's different. He said, I waited at your house for an hour. So he was at the house for an hour, and then he might be here. So who knows? So it still could be later. It still could be later.
Also, how awkward Adrian's just so. What's new?
Oh, we know what happened.
Now that's an alternative because we know Apollo's a cheater. I know
Yeah.
Adrian wouldn't, but that's just a funny thing.
Oh,
to-
Paul's a very sexy man.
Adrian has too much class for that
That's true.
nonsense.
She does.
What are you doing here?
Business.
Now, I do like how Paul says it's business that he's here, and not necessarily. It is a bit about, they talk about the money, but yeah, anyways, we'll keep going. Business. Okay. I just, with this conversation, have they had very many conversations before this one is the question?
I'm pretty sure they haven't spoken really at all, other than in the ring where he's like,
In the corner.
get this guy or whatever.
Yeah, do us a favor, knock out this guy. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
If the papers knew we were talking like this, like we're
'Cause-
having an
The last time they really interacted, Apollo was like extremely antagonistic, right? Like they were not bros. Rocky has never been antagonistic towards Apollo ever, even in the press conferences and stuff. Like when Apollo's talking shit, Rocky's just like, "This guy's great. I'm just gonna try my best." But Apollo has hated his guts, but he's obviously gotten over it at this point.
They knew we were talking like this. They think we was crazy. Why you?
We've talked about this in the past, but this is more realistic way this would go down, is Apollo would see this as his chance to come out of retirement and beat the shit out of Clubber, especially since Clubber pissed him off so bad in the ring. The real life inspiration behind this is when George Foreman, who is, as I've said a billion times, is Clubber, knocks out Joe Frazier big time. Joe Frazier's kind of like Rocky, a big puncher. George Foreman is an even bigger puncher. And then Muhammad Ali comes in, who was defeated by Frazier, who is no longer the champion. Everyone thought Muhammad Ali was too old. They thought he was past his prime. They thought he'd never be able to beat Foreman. And he comes in and with his strategy and with his finesse beats Foreman. Really, you would have Apollo coming in to fight Clubber, and this is how Apollo gets his championship back. But of course, this is not the Apollo Creed movie. This is the Rocky movie. Rocky will now transform into a version of Apollo to beat Clubber.
Good point. Yeah, I like that.
Because I'm the best and you need somebody to teach you different.
Why?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't think you could pull it off without me, Rock.
So there's evidence for Kyle. Can't pull it off without me.
But he
Yeah,
didn't
to be fair,
answer.
that's just Apollo's ego and opinion, though.
It is, and it also didn't answer Rocky's question. Like, what's in it for you?
But he'll get to it. I think he gets to it. But yeah.
You still didn't give me the answer, Apollo. What's the real reason?
See.
It's quiet, isn't it? When you retire, it's too quiet. We're too young to retire anyway. Besides, with the right touch, I could promote this thing into the biggest gate of all time. It'd be bigger than ours.
He's always about that. He's always trying to make money, make a buck, and that's how he's rich as he is. He's very rich. He's richer than Rocky is at this moment. He's a business. He loves that. That's the way he is. But he also is resembling a little bit of Rocky when he went back to Mickey in the second film, when he's, I just got to be around him, Mick. And this is, so
Yeah.
Rocky's a little bit more humble about it, though he's less flashy about it, but he's saying the same thing. I don't want to retire. I can't just leave boxing alone. It's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's who I am, Adrian. And that's what Apollo's saying is, I got to be around it. Like, I'm retired, but I'm not done with this business. I want to be around it.
There's a line there that I misheard all these years.
Oh.
And he says, "We're too young to retire."
Mm-hmm.
Now, I always heard it as "you're too young to retire.
Oh,
Because Apollo is older than Rocky. I think that's established. I would
4 or
think
5
so. At
years,
least.
I think.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you could argue that maybe Apollo is a little too old to come back, but Rocky isn't, because that's how I always thought it. Apollo's kind of living vicariously through Rocky. We're too young to retire. I still think Apollo should have just go win the ring and fought Clubber, but whatever.
To your point, Ryan, like probably 4-ish years older than Rocky, but in real life, Weathers is younger than Sly.
Oh, that's
Is he
right.
really?
Like a year or two, yeah.
Oh,
That's right. Yeah. All right. And he says here it could be bigger than ours. And I don't know if I agree with that, other than the fact that, yeah, it's Rocky reclaiming a championship or a rematch, sure. But I feel like Super Fight 2 was a bigger event.
yeah, I think so.
Them teaming up is going to be a huge
That's part of the
deal.
draw,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
That'd be part of the draw, sure. Okay.
And
fair.
I think Apollo said with the right touch. So, like, if you advertise it, if you promote it correctly, it wouldn't just on its own naturally become bigger. But maybe Apollo sees that as a challenge. Like, hey, let's see if we can get this to be bigger than ours, which is a high bar.
Okay.
Heaven knows I don't mind being involved with large numbers, right?
I don't need this no more. I don't want this no more.
So he's broken. He's beaten. Doesn't like, hey, that's a cool offer, Apollo, but I don't need this no more. I don't want it no more. He doesn't feel that need to repeat this because right now we don't know yet as an audience member. He's afraid. He feels not just defeated, but he's like the drive is out of him completely to face this again.
Yeah, he just got beat. Like, the bruises are still fresh.
Yep.
He's very sore. He's emotionally wrecked from Nikki's death and from the ego blow it is to lose. Okay, to find out that your last 10 fights were handpicked and you just got viciously knocked out and your manager just died. That's a lot of stuff piling up on you all at once. Like a couple weeks' time.
I don't know who I am anymore.
Yeah. My whole life's a lie. Everything's fake. You probably had this thing, oh, I'm just another bum from the neighborhood type of thing. Maybe I'm not. I'm the champ. I have all these title defenses. Everyone loves me. And then I just got brought back down to reality. And maybe you're thinking, maybe I am just another bum from the neighborhood. I was just kidding myself this whole time. You know how your mind can play tricks on you like that, right?
Oh yeah.
Where it's not quite true, but then you have this like negative self voice. I'm sure he has that big time right now.
Yep.
Look, man, when you beat me, I hurt all over, and I didn't want to know from nothing or nobody, not even my kids.
He hurt all over to the point where Mrs. Creed had to take care of his bathroom business.
Yeah, we learned that in the Creed film. Yeah, we learned that in the Creed film. Yeah, she had to carry him up those stairs, wipe his butt after he took a shite. Yeah. We got thank you, Mrs. Creed, for that little retcon knowledge of this scene. Yeah, the timeline of this film, it was just a year ago that he got his bum wiped by Mrs. Creed.
Yeah, exactly.
Mrs. Huxtable at that. Yeah.
That's right, Mrs. Huxtable, that's right.
Hell, every fighter knows that hurt, and we get sick inside trying to live with it. So don't back off now. Make it right for yourself, or you'll be sorry you didn't. We held the greatest title in the whole world, babe.
I just love how he says babe there. I don't know.
That's the second babe of the film.
God, Apollo, the way he speaks is just spectacular. I love it. Everything about it.
Was babe a thing? Because we heard the photographer who's like, hey, Rocky, how about a picture, babe? Did people call each other, the dudes call each other babes back then? What the hell?
Apparently.
Because coming from Apollo, I don't know why it makes more sense. It's more that I don't know why, but having a black man say it,
I feel like black guys would be less likely to say babe to other dudes.
Oh, interesting. I feel like coming from him, it's more groovy and
yeah,
I don't know what it is,
I'm feeling Ryan's vibe here too. What you're putting down, I'm picking it up.
Because it reversed it. Imagine if Rocky says the same dialogue to Apollo. You know what I'm saying there, babe?
He's a cooler dude. Yeah.
But you're right, Kyle. Is that a saying in the 70s or early 80s, babe? Yeah,
I'm guessing so.
I'll ask my mom. So, Mom, when you hear this, give me a call. Send me a text.
Call me collect.
Let me know. Call me, Mom. Call me.
Or whatever your name is.
You lost that fight, Rock, for all the wrong reasons. You lost.
Sorry, he's wearing the necklace with the cufflink and the cross next to each other. I don't know why I've never caught that before. You pointed that out earlier. Yeah, that's what I mean. You guys pointed that earlier, but now I'm seeing it for the first time.
I wonder if Apollo's wearing his two under his shirt.
Because he has like a suit on, doesn't he?
But yeah, he can have it underneath though.
Yeah.
The Rocky lore with the cufflink is it's insane. It's probably of the Rocky franchise, the cufflink. We are led to believe Mickey gave the other cufflink somehow to Apollo. And he wears it in the second
not
film.
Mickey. He got the other one. He said some bum. Rocky's asking where the other one went, and he was saying
some
that
other
Rocky
bum.
Marciano gave it to some other bum, which somehow filtered down to Apollo. Is
Tony got it. Is
honestly
That's what we thought. Is Tony might have gotten it? Yeah.
Of all Ryan's tinfoil hat theories, this is the most believable, the best, most interesting one.
I agree. It's
I
good.
like this one. I like it. I like hearing about it. I will entertain that.
I'm fully saying
Conspiracy
Tony
theories.
received it and gave it to Apollo.
I think it's before Apollo and Tony met. I think it's an old black man with a toothpick in his mouth who gave it to Apollo personally. I think that old guy probably knew some fighter that was Sugar Ray something, and he got it from him and then came down to Apollo. That's my theory. I don't have any evidence for that whatsoever, but that's my
Okay.
story I'm making
So
up.
now the question is, Apollo sees Rocky wearing that link. Do they ever talk about having the same cufflink?
Hey, where'd you get that
Where'd you
cufflink?
get-
Well, let me tell you.
They have both in the films worn them openly in the open, but we never see it on film them discussing the cufflinks that they share. Yeah.
Lost your edge. All right. I know your manager dying had you all messed up inside.
Okay. Yeah. So even
See-
Apollo
see-
recognizes that. But I've always found this line here shows you just how business mode Apollo is, because it's a pretty, like, you just buried the guy 12 hours ago, not even. And he does state that, I know having your business manager or your manager's died, having it messed up inside. We still don't think Rocky thought that Mickey was dying, because in the film, and we see him, he's expecting Mickey to come down the aisle at some point and be next to him. Like, he was just gassed or winded. I don't think Rocky truly felt that he was dying so much as he was really ill. He took ill.
Yeah, I think Apollo doesn't know that. I think
okay.
all Apollo knows is that Mickey wasn't there for the fight.
And then he did die.
And then he did die, so he probably just assumes Mickey was either A, already dead, or B, Rocky knew he was dying.
But this is a bit of fan service even for the audience members too, that we are hearing from Apollo that part of the reason why Rocky lost, this is written by Sly, part of the reason Rocky lost was Mickey wasn't there. So it's being written into the film and it's being said by the character. So whether Sly thinks that or the characters in the film think that, there is some sort of semblance of idea that yes, Rocky lost that fight, but you didn't have the eye of the tiger. In our fight, you had it, but in this one you don't.
But the truth is, you didn't look hungry. Now, when we fought, you had that eye of the tiger, man, the edge. And now you got to get it back. And the way to get it back is to go back to the beginning.
We've talked about this. Did he have the eye of the tiger?
Okay.
I don't think so. I
No.
don't think so. I think
definitely
Apollo
didn't.
had the eye of the tiger.
Yes, he had it for
Apollo
sure.
was trained like a madman.
Yeah.
He was motivated to beat Rocky. He fought well the entire time. Was stupid at the end. Rocky did a last-minute training after his head was all screwed up, and then showed up late to the fight. Is I wonder if he won't show. And then he's maybe I think I have a headache. He doesn't seem like he had the eye. What? You could say maybe Rocky, you were living hard back then. I was living in luxury, even though I trained hard. I still was soft in that way, where you were like
Sure.
still living in the old neighborhood and you were made differently than me. And like really, Rocky won that fight because he could take a punch better.
He also says when we fought, and here's my thought on the eye of the tiger business. If you are the champion, you don't have the eye of the tiger. You've succeeded. You've gotten to the highest level.
Yeah.
So by nature, you don't have it. And Rocky did have it in the first fight. So Apollo could be referring to the first fight.
No, but he's like, you had it, you won.
Okay, that's true. You could argue that he did, just because whoever is not the champion, just by nature of not being the champion, you are hungry. You want it.
Yeah, true enough. And I think Apollo in the first fight obviously did not have the eye of the tiger,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like he didn't. He almost lost that fight. And at least to one judge, he did lose that fight.
Yeah, yeah.
And then in the second fight, I say he has, because he was embarrassed from the first fight.
Yeah.
It was an odd situation where the champion can get the eye of the tiger because now he has something to prove to other
Yes.
people. It's almost like in Apollo's mind, if you don't knock the guy out, you lose. That's his mentality. It seems like it's Sly's mindset that if you're not living hard, you're not training hard. Because you see that when in the fourth film where he goes to Russia to train, and then you see that when he takes Adonis out to the desert and stuff. He likes that idea of taking someone out of their environment and having them not just train hard for a few hours, but to actually live hard.
I think I agree with that. Yeah. We think, Ryan.
No, I'm listening to all of it, and I don't disagree with anything, so I don't have much more to add. And Luis says same thing. Spot on recap of Rocky 2 fight situation. LOL. So there you go. All right. So he says here, Paul says, we just established with our conversation. No, we don't know what you mean. Imagine if Rocky came back and said exactly what Kyle said. In the first fight, you were pretty pissed off.
Apollo, you lost that last fight because you went for the knockout at the end, right?
You should have gone toe to toe with me. You should have listened to Tony.
You should have beat me on points. You didn't have to run from me, but you didn't have to get in a slugfest either.
Listen, man.
What I mean? Maybe we could win it back together. Eye of the Tiger, man.
Tiger, man.
Okay, I think we talked about this, but was Eye of the Tiger chosen because of this, or did this come from the Eye of the Tiger song?
The song was written for the film, so they had they must
Was
have
it
had
really
a spec.
written?
Yes, they had a
Man.
spec script. So
And it just became really popular after that?
I'm 99% sure, correct me if I'm wrong in the email, folks, that Sly wrote the script, and then he commissioned the band to create the music for the film, and they took that from the film.
It's weird too, because in the music video for that, they're like walking through Times Square. It's not boxing related or anything, from what I remember.
Oh, I don't remember.
And it's like
I don't know if I've ever seen the video.
seedy 70s Times Square too. Not the Disneyland Times Square we have today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I assumed what you said too, Ryan, but the video does make it seem like that wasn't the case. Because didn't they originally want Queen's Another One Bites the Dust or
that's
something?
what Sly wanted. It was turned down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. It's hard now because Eye of the Tiger is so iconic.
Yeah.
But then I could be wrong, because I also heard that the song that we hear in the film apparently is different than the one that's on the soundtrack by a certain degree or whatever. I can't tell the difference. I've said this before, I'll say it again because we're talking about it. It's my least favorite of the Rocky songs that are popular. I love Going the Distance, The Final Bell, the Robert Tepper is way better, even Burning Heart. It's overplayed, it's too much, it's a redundant chorus. I don't know. Anyways, whatever. I know the initial chords that kick in are fun, I agree, but after that, it's a very repetitive song.
It's great.
I might stand alone on this, but I don't know.
Why'd you have to come here?
It's a weird way of saying
I don't get that either. Because you're here.
You do.
I feel like there should be a scene where like Apollo's sitting at a table, like a police interrogation, with like the bright light on him, and Rocky has this smoke with like, his tie loose and his sleeves rolled up. He's like, "All right, Apollo, let's go through this again. Why did you come here? I told you, man. It's because."
Now, it is an odd line, but if you want to psychoanalyze it, he could be saying, I was comfortable quitting. Now
You're
now
so reasonable-minded, Ryan. That's a
Sometimes
very
I-
good point.
Also, Apollo like could have just called him on the phone. You see how serious he is that he flew across the country to have this as an in-person conversation. Or he just stuck around, maybe. I don't know.
But I think that's what it is. Rocky saying, I was comfortable where I was. Now you've pulled me out of this funk.
Mhm.
Now I'm uncomfortable again, because often when you face your fears, he's afraid, it's uncomfortable.
You only grow as a human when you
That's right.
step outside your comfort zone.
Yeah, that's why I've never grown.
I have the plan. Get back.
You got me curious.
There's the other trivia.
Good, I got it right.
Yeah.
I initially put Apollo and then crossed it out.
They both say it, but Rocky
yeah.
says it first, and of course Apollo
Yeah.
responds with the classic homoerotic line.
You got me curious, Rob.
He didn't say babe.
Ooh, I know.
All right, so I think that's where we're going to end today, because the next scene, yeah, okay. All right, so good stuff. Big episode, fun discussion, and we're going to get the answers here on the trivia. I think the only one that I'm unsure of is the first one. So ready?
Okay, I put Joe Zack.
I did too, Kyle.
Oh, I'm quitting. I can't do
We did
trivia
talk
anymore.
about this on the episode too.
We did,
I
but it was the
know.
only one I could really remember.
I put Big Yank Ball.
Ooh, could be.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It could be.
Oh, it is. You guys are right.
Yeah.
That's the father's name of his wife. And this is father-in-law. Man. All right. True. Yes. True was, of course, the question of the logo. Yep. We got that. His motorcycle helmet was thrown, and Apollo says, oh, he put Apollo. You got me curious. Okay. Interesting.
So
So
we got to mark that wrong then.
We literally just watched
we just
it.
watched
Yeah.
it. Again, Rocco was 10. He was 10 when he did this.
Yeah.
They both said it.
Mhm.
Okay, so Ryan, you got 4, Katie and I got 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
And thank you, Louise. Louise, if he was the judge, he'd give me the point. He says, damn, the correct answer should always be Big Yank Ball. I agree.
That was a good recall of that name, though, because it's an epic name.
It isn't. That's the only reason why I remember. I totally forgot it was Joe.
Yeah.
The reasonable name would be Joe. Okay. All right. Again, send us an email if you haven't already. Or give us a review on iTunes. We are part of the Last of the Action Heroes podcast network, and we also have our standalone feed. So I don't know which one people listen to. We have people that listen to both. So if you're whatever feed you're on, give us a review and a rating. It not only does it help, it just helps me personally. Oh, people are listening. It's nice. They actually care. Yeah. Oh, you can join the Patreon as well. The Patreon, you get same day release of these videos that are not edited. So you see, for better, for worse, you see the whole discussion, the jokes that don't land, swear words that Kyle says I edit out. All those things are in the unedited version on Patreon. And Kyle, you're about to say something there?
Oh, I was actually going to plug your Patreon because I didn't think you'd do it.
Oh, thank you.
I was going to be like, I want to point out, I don't profit from the Patreon, so I'm not saying this to be self-serving. Ryan spends money on this stuff.
Yeah, I do spend money. The software I use to record costs money, and of course, my equipment has cost me money. I dare say my Patreon hasn't paid it back yet. But yeah, and it's also a way of just saying thanks for the tips for the editing. And last thing, Katie will not be here on the next episode. I wanted to make that announcement. She'll be on another vacation as per. She's just a busy gal. But we do have stepping in for her. We have a guest host, Jared Talkstein from the 25 Guys Hyper Podcasting in Space. He'll be here to co-host with you, Kyle, and he said that he looks forward to co-hosting with you because he's never done that apparently.
Oh.
And that he also said that he is going to miss the red face. So I don't know for that one if you want to red face.
Or maybe I'll bring out the old computer and
well, that's a lot of work. He just made that joke. No,
it's really not actually. My old computer's like right beside me here.
It's up to you, but he was joking. But he's looking forward to podcasting with you because he is from hyperspace. That's where he's from. So
Speaking of Jared, I feel like one of the times that Jared guested with you and I, Ryan, was when we had the AI voice of the guy who said Mickey was racist.
That's right. Right.
I've been listening to this podcast, and one of the ads, I've heard it twice now. One of the ads that comes on, I can't even remember what product they're hawking. I don't know, Ace Hardware. So I can't remember the ad, but it's it's the identical AI voice. It's the same AI voice that this ad uses.
Yeah, we called him out on that and he never responded.
Yeah.
So it's obvious it's true. Why would you? Doesn't it seem like a lot of work to write a script for an AI to read? That seems like a lot of work to me. Maybe I'm just naive.
But I just thought it was very interesting that I now heard the ad that shows that same voice.
Yeah.
For their
It's a generic voice though, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's very clear it's AI.
It's weird. It is weird. Just show your real voice. I don't understand. It's odd. All right.
I want to send in AI shit to the show. That's just like with some outrageous opinions.
Yeah, that's the scary thing with that AI. So, Kyle, with that, this episode is over.
I didn't hear no bell.
I just want to say one